Crossing targets being one of the most important birds in sporting clays and one of the most complicated deserves some attention to really get into some detail. We're going to break this into two different types of crossing shots. Traditional crossing shots versus or in compared to crossing shots where we have to insert to the lead. The difference between these shots is going to be essentially time. When you have less time before the bird gets past its break point or its visual opportunity, meaning that if you see the clay well early and that's the break point and there's not a lot of time, that could be a different technique and a different approach than our traditional crossing shot, which we'll refer to as a shot that gives us more opportunity and gives us more time. In a shorter window, whether it's because the bird turns on edge and then fades away, or that you see the bird and you have the break point very early, the gun must insert to the lead. So the lead is established through the gun mount or through your first move. So when the gun gets to your face, we're advocating shooting crossing with the gun out of your pocket a little bit in what we call a cheat mount, a short mount, a few inches from your face. If you had a lot of time in FETAS or a discipline like that, would obviously be lower. But the gun mount has to establish the barrel in front of the clay at the break point. Your move or approach to the target is that when you have that limited window of opportunity, because you've determined this through planning, the gun mount will be carrying the gun or inserting the gun from the hold point directly to the break point. The gun will hit your face and you will fire as the gun is approaching the break point. You could have a moment in time where you hold with the bird after the gun hitting your face, but in general, the space required in front of the clay is established through the gun mount. Obviously, as we add distance and speed, we're going to have to insert further and further in front of the bird. This is going to take some experience. Inserting to the lead from the hold point to the break point and firing is not something that I recommend for novice shooters. I recommend that we learn our more traditional crossing approach first, which our more traditional crossing approach is also going to call for a short mount, slightly unmounted gun, cheat mount, or a short unmounted gun. But the difference is going to be that instead of it being a sustain or a maintain lead, it will be a combination of the gun meeting the bird and then the gun moving away from the bird. So that being said, traditional crossing with more time, we're meeting the bird in the area of the hold point. So instead of mounting the gun to the break point, we're mounting to connect the gun in the bird or insert the gun somewhere relative to the bird in the area of the hold point. If the bird's closer, we're going to insert on the front edge. As we add distance and speed, we'll insert a little bit in front. We'll call that +1. And we'll insert further in front if we add more distance and speed, +2, etc. We have to build that relative inventory through experience. That insert, though, is not the lead. The lead is established from the insert and the gun moving with the clay, meaning from the hold point to the break point. As you've connected, the gun has the opportunity to move away from the target or stretch the lead. I like to use the term stretch the lead instead of pull away, but in a generic term, we can say the gun will pull away to finish the lead. The portion of the lead that is established through the insert can be anywhere from 80% of it, 90% of it, to 0 to 10%, depending on the opportunity that the bird allows. The more opportunity the bird allows, the less in front the gun has to be inserted. The lead at the end can be open-ended, meaning that the eyes are locked on and the gun is moving away from the bird to establish that final part of the lead. So we're getting a little more feel for the target. When I shoot a traditional crossing shot, I have a little bit more matching of the gun speed and the bird speed by having the gun hooked together in the area of the hold point, and I feel the lead a little bit more, and it's a little bit more open-ended, meaning that at the end of my shot, my eyes are really locked on the clay, and I see the clay well, and the last part of my lead is stretching out. So yes, I have a relative position. I have an awareness of my gun. I know precisely where I inserted my gun, but I'm not being precise of the last portion of the lead. I'm trying to add anywhere from 10 to 50% of that. It's just a feel part at the end. In comparison to inserting to the lead or mounting and firing where the gun goes from the hold point to the break point, that shot, in my opinion, requires more of a picture of what that insert is going to look like. Hence why it takes more experience. There are two main approaches that you need to understand for crossing shots. The first is a traditional crossing approach, which will make up roughly 80 to 90% of crossing shots. This is being connected with the bird, inserting the gun with the clay, and when the gun hits your face, you do not fire, but you run with the target to feel the last portion of the lead, allowing the gun speed to move slightly faster than the bird, so that if the bird's going 20 miles an hour, the gun will go 20 to 21 to add lead and stretch out and finish the lead. The gun will insert in different positions depending upon the distance and speed. The other approach that you must be able to do to advance your shooting at a higher and higher level is to be able to take the bird where you see it the best, and if that happens early with a limited time, the gun mount must establish the gun in front of the bird at the required lead, and you will need to be ready when the gun hits your face to fire. Both of these techniques are very different. The underlying fundamental that is the same is that the timing of the gun mount, the timing of the move to your face, establishes the insertion on both approaches. The insertion on the run with traditional crossing is establishing the insert. The insertion on the mount and fire or mounting to the lead establishes the lead.